hey, we alluded to it earlier. If you're a Northwestern fan, I feel for you.
Yeah.
And I've even heard some talk of potential the death penalty, like some serious issue. I don't know if it's going to go that extreme, but nonetheless, this is still a crazy issue. Those of you who don't know, Northwestern fires their coach today, Pat Fitzgerald, amid hazing allegations. Alex, what does this mean for Northwestern this year?
It means this year you can write it off already for Northwestern. You fire your coach a month before you're supposed to be back on the field for fall camp. The stories that are going on around that, there's already division in the locker room. There's some players back in Fitzgerald. There's some that obviously aren't. This couldn't be worse for Northwestern right now, not to mention what this does for recruiting.
Yeah.
Any recruits you probably had locked up for 2024 and beyond are probably backing out. Right. What does this mean for coaching? Who's taking over? Are they interim? Are they permanent? Like this has heavy implications, not just for this year for Northwestern, but years to come, especially if that death penalty comes, you can write them off for probably 5-10 years at least.
Right.
Yeah, this is not good for the purple and white.
Yeah, it really, like we said earlier, I mean, it's baffling. I mean, when you sit there and think of quality programs from quality coaches, Northwestern is one of those programs. It's a great academic institution, but also Pat Fitzgerald. I mean, when he played in the night, this guy was a monster. He was one of those guys that got you hyped up about playing and getting in it. And then to see him coach and to see what he's done at Northwestern, a program that, I'm sorry, you know this a little better than I would, but they're not known for being a powerhouse. You know what I mean?
Not the slightest.
Right. I can think of maybe 2 or 3 years. I think it was 2006 was it, where they went they only had one loss or something like that?
Yeah, somewhere in there. Yeah, they were really good for a couple of years. And I mean, you look at it, it was the same thing a couple of years ago where they were in the Big Ten championship game going toe-to-toe with an Ohio State. And then it just comes crashing down again.
Yeah.
And that's what it is with Northwestern. It's tough to get people to go play there because of the conference you're in and the powerhouses that are already there. You look at that division, too. You got to go up against Wisconsin, Iowa, Nebraska, some of those teams. Now, well, we're getting rid of divisions, but now you add in a USC and UCLA on top of Michigan, Penn State, Ohio State, Michigan State. That's tough asking for Northwestern to try and compete in that. And Fitzgerald had done that a couple of years here, a couple of years there. And that's more than most people have done in years.
Yeah, absolutely. So unfortunately, this definitely might spell doom for this program. Kat said, love the MSU background. I created it, Kat. You know, that's the only way it got up there. Johnny Dean said the whole shower stuff sounds way too familiar. Ooh. Yeah. So and we're not going to too in depth, but it was about hazing, primarily around the underclassmen and some of the things that they would kind of have these guys do. Again, we don't need to kind of get into it. Definitely read the article and dive into it. But it's really hard to believe that this program, it just baffles me. But look, I was talking to you about this before. I mean, we both played football for a good number of years.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever experienced any kind of hazing? I mean, maybe not to this level, but I mean, anything?
I wouldn't call any of the stuff we did hazing. It was just kind of understood everywhere I went. Rookies kind of, and it was rookie jobs essentially. You grabbed the bags out of the shed, you set up the field, you took the field down at the end of practice, you carried shoulder pads for the vets, there was stuff like that. The furthest we went as hazing was rookie parties where you had rookies drink a little more than they should have. That was as far as it went. We never did anything to the level of hazing, at all.
Yeah. And that to me, we had the same thing. I mean, you might have had freshmen, beat up day, or you might have had them, have to carry your bags. Same exact thing you were saying. But a lot of that stuff was older siblings on the team that mainly picked on their siblings or their siblings' friends or things like that. People that they knew, but nothing to the extreme that we're hearing about in the story.
No, nothing abusive, nothing harassing, anything like that. It was, and I mean, it was a thing where if somebody said, "Hey, I don't want to do this. Hey, I'm not okay with it." Okay, and that was the end of it. Like there was a line, and you didn't cross it. Like
right. And I think something that you said to me off camera, it rings true, is that when you do that, I mean, I guess some of these institutions is okay, but when you do that, at least in our situation, that could mess with kind of the bonding and the unity of the team. You know what I mean? And that's the last thing you want. You don't want one of these younger guys that could potentially contribute to your team to kind of feel uncomfortable or leave, God forbid, because of whatever this stuff is. So I don't know.
Well, and that's such a big part. Like at the end of the day, you're all one team. So why would you want to divide it in any way? Why would you want to pick on a player, harass a player, assault a player? Like you're all working towards the same goal, or you're supposed to be.
Right.
And yeah, that's just never crossed any of the minds of the people I've been on a team with, at least to my knowledge.
Right. So that's, terrible to hear. It is not uncommon. Let's be very true. It happens.
It's very common. Yeah.
Right. So, this is not the first and it won't be the last. Colin says, was there a buyout or did they or just don't let the door split shit type thing? I'm not sure if there's buyout. I do know that there was an article that came out today talking about that Fitzgerald potentially was going to, see if maybe there was something having to do with a clause in his contract, maybe, where, with early termination, something like that, where you can't do. Have you heard anything like that?
I wonder if I hadn't heard about it till you mentioned it right before the show, but I wonder if it's almost something like where they use this as we don't have to pay you a dime, get out.
Right.
And if he's looking to see if maybe they do still have to pay him, or maybe it's like breach of contract.
Breach of contract.
That would be the only thing I could think of where they would still have to buy him out. But yeah, I don't see any other potential for a breach of contract.
Right. So, hey, look, it's going to be interesting. I'm sure there will be more stories to come about this.
Oh, yeah.
Colin had a point earlier where he was saying, this soon, like they didn't waste any time getting him out there. You know what I mean? We just heard the stories about stuff going on not too long ago, and then all of a sudden he got the axe. So
it was a 2-day suspension to start, or 2-game suspension to start.
Yeah.
And then there was more that came out, and it was just, you're gone. Like there was nothing, no hesitation. I agree with Johnny. If you're Pat Fitzgerald, you hide in the shadows for now. You get your name out of the limelight because it's there for all the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
Which sucks because he was one of my favorite coaches just in college football. I loved watching him and his team go.
Right.
And it just sucks that all that was apparently going on behind the scenes, and it ruins what was a good thing.
Right. So who knows? Hopefully, I mean, you can't take away the fact that he was a great coach. Can't take away the fact that he brought a team that is not used to being relevant in the Big Ten. He brought them to relevance. So definitely give him credit for that. But listen, this has been happening a lot. We talk about this case. Kat and I were talking about West Virginia's basketball coach, Huggins. You know what I mean? He just put in a statement out today. Guys, these coaches, I know in their universities, in those areas, they might have this air of superiority, of being untouchable, but they can't be touched. I'm telling you, you mess up. It just takes one of these situations, and they don't hesitate.
Yeah, especially when they're nowadays where they're getting paid all that money. The schools aren't going to hesitate. They're going to be like, one slip up, you're gone. We can get somebody cheaper. looking at it that way too.
Right. And let's see, you never know. I mean, he's the first to go, but we don't know. Maybe there's other people, because you can't just tell me he was the only one in that locker room that.
Oh, they're going to clean house.
I'm about to say, yeah, because that's when you have stuff like this happening. Oh yeah, they're going to definitely do.
And I imagine it's not just going to be coaches. I think there's going to be players that are removed from the team, and there's going to be a whole lot of stuff happen, even if they don't get the official like death penalty like SMU got. It might be very similar just by them cleaning house. Like it's gonna get real ugly real quick, even uglier than it's already gotten.
And as Colin's saying, a Penn State's type situation.
It might be.
It might be. So, whew, yo.